On today's episode of The Franchise, this is episode number 11, and in today's episode, we are going to recap and go over the Astros sweeping the Yankees in the ALCS to head to the World Series, and as well as the Philadelphia Phillies taking down the Padres to head to the World Series. They beat the Padres in 5 games. We're also going to go over NFL Week 7, going to recap some of the games, some of the biggest headlines and storylines heading into week number 8. Almost halfway through the NFL season. And with the NBA season, regular season, getting underway about a week ago, the Lakers are 0-3. So we will talk about the Lakers and what makes them one of the worst teams in the league currently at the moment. And maybe a few other things in this episode. Let's start, though, with the Los Angeles Lakers. They're 0-3 through their first 3 games of the season. They play their next game on the 26th. And, yeah, they are really excuse me, they're really bad. The obvious standout, or one of the few things that really stands out for this Lakers team, which is really just on the offensive side of the ball, is their 3-point shooting. The Lakers rank dead last in the NBA in 3-point percentage. They're shooting 21% from 3 this season, and they are attempting the 8th most 3-pointers per game in the NBA. So they're shooting the 3 ball like crazy, and they are missing it basically every single time. And that is a big problem for the Lakers. Obviously, with LeBron not being one of the greatest 3-point shooters in the game, you need guys around him that he can dish the ball out to when he is in trouble. And the Lakers have failed to do that so far this season. You look at Anthony Davis, who's been a solid 3-point shooter in the past in his career, but last year and so far this season, he's not shooting the rock good at all. And then Russell Westbrook. Excuse me. Russell Westbrook is the second or first biggest problem with the Lakers this season. And it's just really surprising to see how bad he is. I mean, he was not good for the Lakers last season, but this season he's putting up 10 points through 3 games, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. But you look through his game-by-game stats. Oh my God, dude, sorry about that. Opening night against the Warriors, he dropped 19 points. But then these last 2 games that he's played, 27 minutes and 28 minutes of play. Russell Westbrook against the Clippers in the second game of the season shot 0% from the field, 0% from 3, and had 2 points. His only 2 points coming at the free throw line. He played 27 minutes. He turned the ball over only 1 time, which is nice to see from Russell Westbrook, someone who last season was turning the ball over at a very high pace. But this game against the Clippers was very disappointing to see from a guy who's playing almost 30 minutes of basketball. And then you go to the next game against the Blazers, and he only puts up 10 points, 26% shooting from the field, 0% from 3, 66% from the free throw line. I really think that Russell Westbrook, it's clear and obvious that he doesn't fit with this team. You could say that last season. He didn't need to play this season to show that he doesn't fit with LeBron and Anthony Davis here with the Lakers. And his trade value every time he steps on the floor is getting lower and lower, and it is already as low as trade value can possibly get in the NBA. I mean, the only good thing that he is showing by playing is that you can trade for him as a bad team and not win games, which is where the Lakers are going to have to trade Russell Westbrook, because no contending team this season is going to want to trade for Russell Westbrook, because he's not going to help you. He's going to hurt you. And especially a team that's going to give up assets. So it's going to be a team that gets Russell Westbrook that is not a contender, that is looking to tank and rebuild this season. And, I mean, the only good thing is if you trade for Russell Westbrook, which has been an area of concern in years past, if you're a bad team and you trade for him, he's going to make you good. But if you trade for Russell Westbrook this season, you trade for him right now, you're probably going to lose more games than you would win without him. But yeah, the Lakers are not good. They're not playing great at all. LeBron is playing good basketball. Anthony Davis, through his first 3 games, is putting up some nice numbers as well. All 3 of his games have been 20-plus scoring games, playing almost 35 minutes a game. But the Lakers, the expectations for this season have been low, depending on who you ask. I have them as like a 9th seed or 8th or 9th seed playing team. This team is not going to be able to win a championship, even though they have LeBron James, who's one of the greatest players of all time, the second best basketball player of all time. This team is not built to win a championship, and they're not built really to make the playoffs. I think they are built to be one of the worst teams in the NBA as currently constructed and as they have performed so far through these first 3 games. And yes, it's only 3 games, and there's 82 in the NBA. And a lot of overreaction happens very early. But the signs that the Lakers have shown, they have not shown many good signs of any sort of success in the near future. And that is very, very concerning for the Lakers. Oh, shoot. Moving on, though. The Houston Astros are heading to the World Series. This is their 5th or 6th World Series. I think it's their 5th World Series appearance since 2017. They made it in 27. It's not their 5th. They made it in 2017. Made it in 2019. Made it in 2021. And made it in 2022. So this is their 4th World Series appearance since 2017. And they just swept the New York Yankees. And before we were heading into this ALCS between these 2 teams, the Astros and the Yankees, a lot of the conversation was, and some of the talk was, that this is the real World Series between the Astros and the Yankees. They were saying that the Phillies and the Padres are just having teams that are good, are teams that are having good success right now, and that when they play in the World Series, they'll get slaughtered. But the Astros just swept the Yankees, who are supposed to be the second best team in baseball. At least the second best team remaining in the postseason. They just swept them, and they absolutely dominated them in all 4 games of the series. Rookie shortstop Jeremy Pena, who took over for Carlos Correa this season, with Correa leaving in free agency, won the ALCS MVP. He went 6 for 17, 2 homers, 2 doubles, hit .353 in the ALCS against the Yankees in 4 games. This kid is a baller. He is the future shortstop for this Astros team, and he's stepping right in to Carlos Correa's shoes that were left. The shortstop position was left open for Houston, and then this rookie comes in and he fulfills the job, and he takes over in the moments that matter in the postseason. He's doing exactly what you expect a guy to do with this level of talent. And the Astros, let's talk about the Yankees, because the Astros, we'll get to them in a little bit when we talk about the World Series. But for the Yankees, this season is going to be looked at as a disappointment. Yankee fans know that. Anything short of a World Series is a disappointing season, regardless of how many wins you have or how far you make it into the postseason. The Yankees did not get the job done. Obviously, getting swept is horrible. They played horrible, atrocious in this series. The offense, the entire postseason, has failed to show up and come through. Aaron Judge, a guy who's probably going to win MVP and just hit 62 home runs, an American League record, did not show up at all in the postseason. He had a sub-100 batting average and was just not able to come up in these clutch moments like he did in the regular season, and like you'd expect from a guy that's going to get a $300 million contract in the offseason as a free agent. The rest of the roster did not play good. I mean, their best player in the playoffs offensively was Harrison Bader, a guy who they traded for at the trade deadline. And you know, that is important to have these guys, these random guys that you get, or guys that you don't expect to pop off. It is important to have that. But you also need Anthony Rizzo, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton. You need all of those offensive stars on your team to do what they're supposed to do and what they're getting paid to do. And that is be there offensively at the plate so you can score runs. The Yankees were one of the best scoring teams in baseball during the regular season. And when it comes to the postseason, they were not able to get runs across, enough runs across offensively to compete with the Astros. I mean, they were lucky to compete with Cleveland. But when it comes to the Astros, you're facing one of the best pitching staffs in baseball, and you're facing one of the best offenses in the game. The Astros hit home runs, and they don't strike out, and they get on base. So you need to be able to compete with that Astros lineup, and the Yankees were not able to do that. And this has led to, conversations about what will the Yankees do in the offseason. Do they re-sign Aaron Judge? Do they trade, or do they fire their manager, Aaron Boone? Do they fire their general manager, president of baseball operations, Brian Cashman? What do the Yankees do this offseason to improve and get better and hopefully make it to a World Series? I don't think they should fire Aaron Boone. I don't think he had a big managerial moment this playoff run that was looked at as stupid. You can point to the Garrett Cole bases loaded situation where he got pulled from the game. But if he doesn't get pulled from that game and he gives up a 3-run double like what happened in the next at bat, or he gives up a grand slam, then it will be looked at as a negative way, and that Garrett Cole shouldn't have stayed in that game. So taking Garrett Cole out with the bases loaded when he's already near 90 pitches was a good decision. Even though it was the 5th or 6th inning, it was the right decision to make. It was all on the reliever's job, and he failed that. And the Yankees bullpen this season, during the regular season, the first half, they had one of the best bullpens in the game. Clay Holmes had like a sub .5 ERA. He was lights out, dominant reliever. When it comes to the second half in the postseason, Yankees bullpen really, really struggled. So where do the Yankees look to improve in the offseason? I mean, the big thing for them is Aaron Judge. He's going to be a free agent, and he's going to get a massive contract. Obviously, the Yankees offered him an extension before the season started in the last offseason, and he declined that, betting on himself, which he rightfully should have, and he deserves to make more than $300 million. He is 30 years old, though. That is the thing. How many years will he get? I'd expect Aaron Judge to get like 7 years. Now, 7 years, $300 million is a lot. That is one of the highest AAVs in baseball. And how many good years of Aaron Judge are you paying for? You look at years past, he hasn't always been healthy. He was fortunate enough this season to be on the field for as many games as he was and not miss time with injuries. So the Yankees have a question of, do they re-sign Aaron Judge? Or can they? Does Aaron Judge just not want to sign with the Yankees, and does he leave? So if the Yankees let's say they bring back Aaron Judge at a number $300 million, they still have to address probably the left side of the infield at third base, shortstop, and they're going to have to bring in either a few starting pitchers or some of the top relievers on the market. Edwin Diaz is going to be a free agent from the Mets. You can try and bring him in. But is it the best decision to pay a reliever? Edwin Diaz could be getting the first reliever to ever get $100 million. I don't think that would be smart for the Yankees. Starting pitching, they are going to need behind Garrett Cole. Nestor Cortez had a great season, but will he be able to replicate that? Odds are he won't be able to be as good as he was this year. Next year, he could still be really good, but I don't think it's likely that he has this season that he just had next year. Garrett Cole, we already know what he's going to be. He's going to be one of the best starting pitchers in the game. So for the Yankees, they need to address the pitching and that left side of the infield with Isaiah kind of for left at short and Donaldson at third. Donaldson has not played good at all this season. In the postseason, I think he went like 1 for 13 in the ALCS, which is horrible. For a guy that's going to be making $21 million next season. And he's getting up there in age. He's in his later half of his 30s. I mean, the good thing for the Yankees is they have some of the best shortstop, infield prospects with Anthony Volpe and Oswald Cabrera coming up in their system. Volpe's a top 10 prospect in the game. So he could easily be playing short or third for them next season. But I also think if you're the Yankees, you need to go out and look at a way to get a guy who can get on base and doesn't strike out, but hits tanks for you next season. Moving on, though, to the NLCS with the Phillies heading to the World Series. They beat the Padres in 5 games. This series was closer than it seemed at first. I mean, obviously, the Phillies win Game 1, 2-0. And then the Padres come out Game 2. Offense plays amazing, and they come back and win that game. And then even in the last game, Game 5, the Padres had a moment Game 4, I think it was, where they looked like they had a moment to win that game. They ultimately fall short. Bryce Harper just played the best baseball of his career. I know he's won 2 MVPs, but this is the best baseball we've ever seen Bryce Harper play, because the postseason are the moments where it matters. And Bryce Harper went 8 for 20 in this series, hitting .400 with 2 homers, 3 doubles, and 5 RBIs in the 5 games. He has that monster home run in Game 5 in the 8th inning to put the Phillies on top and secure their ticket to the World Series. The Padres side of things is somewhere I want to talk about, because the Phillies and Astros, we'll talk about them in a second. But for the Padres, this season is a major success. When you beat the Dodgers in the playoffs, that is one of the greatest things that could have happened to them this season. But all of the things that happened in the regular season, with Fernando Tatis getting suspended and that being one of the biggest distractions on the team, and the potential of, they all thought that they would have Tatis for the second half of the regular season and for a potential postseason run. They thought that before he got suspended. They were expecting him to come back, and he was almost ready. He was doing rehab games in the minor leagues, and the Padres were ready to get Fernando Tatis Jr. back to that lineup that they just traded, or they were about to acquire, Juan Soto. So then you look at that, that was a major distraction. Tatis gets suspended for the rest of the season for PEDs. Your star player is out. He can't even be around the team. But you look at what the Padres did. Yeah, they only won like 86, 89 games. But they got the job done in the postseason, which is where it matters. The regular season doesn't matter once you get to the playoffs. And the Padres really shined through. Their offense played great. Juan Soto had some of the biggest moments as a Padre so far in the postseason. When it comes to his performance with the Padres in the regular season, it wasn't the best. It wasn't what you expect. I think he'll be better next season for the Padres. But in the postseason, he did exactly what he was supposed to do offensively. Defensively, that's a different story. Juan Soto's not a good defensive player. Even though he got nominated for a Gold Glove, he's not a good defensive player. The statistics show you that. I mean, even the eye test shows you that. Juan Soto's not a good outfielder, but as a hitter, he got the job done in the postseason with some clutch hits. Obviously, they didn't win the series, and they only won a single game. But the Padres next season, with getting Tatis back, and their starting rotation going to pretty much stay the same. I know Clevenger's a free agent, but they have the potential to bring in other guys, and they have enough star power on the team with Soto, Machado, Tatis, Blake Snell, Yu Darvish, Joe Musgrove. They have enough star power on their team that they just need to fill it in. They just need to fill in the roster with some more relievers, some more starters, and then you could replace, you could get another outfielder, maybe a more defensive guy for the Padres, but they will definitely be one of the best teams next season. Will they beat the Dodgers in the NL West? I don't know, but will they make it to the postseason next season? I definitely think the Padres will be back next year in the playoffs. But the World Series for the 2022 season will be the Phillies versus Astros. And these are the two best teams remaining. I mean, obviously they're both here, and it's not like the Phillies aren't a good team. The Astros are the best team in baseball. But the Phillies are a good team. They are a really good team. Their offense is playing amazing right now. And the thing with their team is that it is an offensive-heavy team. I mean, they have great pitching. But when it comes to the regular season, the way the Phillies were going to win games is with their offense. And they had lots of stretches where they were up and down. And when they're on, every single person in that lineup is going to be on. And they've shown that in the postseason. I mean, you look at the series against the Braves and the series against the Padres. When one guy hits a homer, the next guy hits a double, and the next guy hits a double, and the next guy hits a homer. It's just a consistent offensive lineup. And the Phillies are really hot right now. And they're pitching with Nola, Wheeler, and Ranger Suarez at the top. That top three, I think, is good enough to compete with this Houston lineup, who the Houston Astros are a very deep team. Yordan Alvarez is one of the best power hitters in the game. Jose Altuve, one of the greatest players of our generation. Alex Bregman, Jeremy Pena, the rookie who's playing amazing. Michael Brantley, Yuli Gurriel, Christian Vasquez, and Martin Maldonado. Kyle Tucker. How did I forget about Kyle Tucker? And then their pitching staff with Justin Verlander, Framber Valdez, Lance McCullers, Javier. I mean, that is one of the best four-man groups in the game, in the playoffs. So this is going to be a great series. I think this will be an offensive series. I think the Phillies lineup is good enough to compete with those 4 Astros starters. And for the Phillies, if their starters are on the Astros lineup, they'll still do some damage. They definitely will. But picking who I think is going to win is going to be tough. I think the Houston Astros are going to win the World Series against the Phillies. I think they're going to do it in 5 games. I don't think the Phillies are going to get destroyed in the 4 games that they lose. I think it will be a very close 1, 2, 3-run games. They will be high scoring games. But ultimately, I think the Astros, they've had their back against the wall a few of these games. Against Seattle and against the Yankees in that last game, they had a chance where they almost lost those games, and their offense came back and fought through. I think that's what they will do against this Phillies team, where the Astros will win the World Series in 5 games. A lot of people always want to say 6 or 7. It's going to be 5. Astros in 5 over the Phillies. Finally, let's do a Week 7 NFL recap. These games recently have not been as good as they were in the past, at least the first few weeks of the season, but a lot of stuff happened this weekend, and a lot of news has came out recently. But let's get things started from the top. The Atlanta Falcons and the Cincinnati Bengals played. The Bengals won this game 35-17, and Joe Burrow had himself a game. 34-42 passing with 481 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also rushed for a touchdown, so 4 total on the game. Joe Burrow is about to enter the conversation. If he has another one of these games in a season that the Bengals make the playoffs, and if they win a few playoff games, 1 or 2, or maybe even the Super Bowl, Joe Burrow will enter that tier of quarterbacks that is only held by Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Those are the top 2, the tier 1 quarterbacks in the game. I think Joe Burrow is the closest guy right now to entering that tier. I know Tom Brady's still playing, but Tom Brady right now in his career is a tier 2 quarterback. He's not a tier 1. If you just take a step back and look at Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and what they're doing, Tom Brady is one of the greatest players, but he's not doing what those 2 guys are doing. But Joe Burrow is probably the closest guy to entering the tier 1 of quarterbacks. And Jamar Chase had another game after having a very rough start to the season. He had his back-to-back game with over 2 touchdowns. He had 130 yards receiving in this game. The way Joe Burrow was able to spread the ball offensively in this game, I mean, you have 4 guys on the team with over 5 receptions. Boyd had 155 yards and a touchdown. T. Higgins, 93 yards on 5 catches. And Hayden Hurst, their tight end, with 6 catches and 48 yards. The Bengals, I know they did lose 3 games, their first 3 games of the season, but they did lose those games within 3 points. They easily could have won all of those games. And their defense is playing great, and Joe Burrow is showing, why he is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And the Bengals will be a legit team. I mean, they are a Super Bowl caliber team. Definitely this season, even though they've had struggles the first 3 games, they are back for the rest of the year. Detroit Lions fall by a score 24-6 to the Cowboys. The Lions are 1-5, but the Cowboys, their first game back with Dak Prescott since week 1, they pick up a nice win here. I know the Lions are one of the worst defensive teams in the game, but that Cowboys defense, once again, I mean, the Cowboys are the best defense in the game, and they're led by the best defensive player in football, in Micah Parsons. I know Aaron Donald still exists. I know Nick Bosa is a guy. TJ Watt, when he was healthy, is a guy. But Micah Parsons is the best defensive player in the NFL, and I don't think it's really that close anymore. He's only in his 2nd year, and you look at what he's doing. I mean, he had a goal line tackle against the Lions to prevent a touchdown. He's getting sacks. He's tackling. He's able to rush the passer at one of the best guys to rush, one of the best pass rushers in the game of football right now. He is so young. He's only in his 2nd year. I think Micah Parsons has the opportunity to actually win the entire NFL League MVP. He will win Defensive Player of the Year this year. And he has the opportunity to win MVP because he single-handedly at times is keeping the Cowboys in these games. He did it against the Eagles. They did lose, but he almost had the opportunity for the Cowboys to beat the Eagles. And Dak Prescott, in his first game back, struggled in the first half, but came out in the second half and did ball out for Dallas. I think Dallas, I've said it in the past few episodes, they're better with Dak Prescott than they are with Cooper Rush. Yes, Cooper Rush won them 4 games, but Dak Prescott is more talented and able to do more things than Cooper Rush. So the Cowboys, they're legit Super Bowl contenders. I know they've had struggles in the past, especially when it comes to postseason and the playoffs, but the Cowboys are contenders so far this season. The Colts lose a game. They just got swept in the season series against the Titans. They lost 19-10. The biggest story from the Colts isn't even in the game that it isn't even from this game. Is that Matt Ryan, the quarterback they traded for in the offseason, has now been benched, and Sam Ellinger has been named the starter for the rest of the season for the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts have a quarterback problem. Ever since Andrew Luck retired, they've gone through Jacoby Brissett, they've gone through Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, Jacob Eason. They've gone through a handful of guys, and none of them have panned out for the Colts. I think something needs to change here with the Colts. General manager-wise, I don't think they need to move off of their GM. They need to move off of Frank Wright, their head coach. Their offense this season, we'll see how it plays out with Sam Ellinger at quarterback. But when you look at how it's been with Matt Ryan at the helm, the offense has been horrible. Jonathan Taylor he's missed a few games in the season, but when he has played, he has not been like Jonathan Taylor of last season. And Matt Ryan has played one of the worst seasons so far of his career. We'll see. The Colts are not contenders this season. I don't expect them to make the postseason. When you look all around at their team, they had a nice defense and a great offensive line and some weapons offensively to be a contender. But this season, unless Sam Ellinger becomes one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, there's no way that this Colts team is contenders. And the Titans pick up a nice win. They sweep the Colts. So the Titans are really the legit team to come out of the AFC South this season. The Packers lose their third straight game on the year. They fall to 3-4, lose to Washington. Washington should not be playing Carson Wentz. Taylor Heineke, who is their backup, is a guy. He is the guy that they need to be playing. He gets them a win, their third win on the year. He goes for 201 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Brian Robinson Jr., 20 carries and 73 yards. Terry McLaurin finally has his great breakout game on the season with a touchdown. But the Packers are there's a lot of holes and a lot of question marks on this team, and it all is in that wide receiver core. Aaron Rodgers is playing good. Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. And the defense for the Packers is good. But they need to get a wide receiver, and whether that is trading for DJ Moore or trading for Kadarius Toney or one of these wide receivers on the trade market, or going out and signing Odell Beckham Jr., that is the only way the Packers will be able to improve and maybe even make the playoffs, because right now they are not in the playoff race. The Vikings are running away with the division right now. So the Packers need to address that wide receiver room if they want to be in it at the end of the season. The Commanders pick up a win, but they're really bad. The Buccaneers, though, they lose 21-3 to the Panthers in the first game without Christian McCaffrey. I know I said last episode the Buccaneers are contenders with Tom Brady, but I'm gonna take it back. I don't take it back a lot of my takes, but I don't think the Buccaneers can win this season. I think they can make the playoffs. They're still in first place in their division. Being 3-4, they're still first place. But I don't think this team is a Super Bowl team. Yes, they're missing some pieces on the offensive line, but they have a great defense. And Tom Brady's not playing bad at all. I think it's just, there's definitely a disconnect between Brady, the receivers, and the whole offense. There's not a cohesive, one collective vision offensively. They have a new head coach since Bruce Arians left in the offseason. But Brady's not playing bad at all. He's definitely playing. He's not playing his, best football ever, but he is playing good NFL football. It's just coming down to the offense, and the offense is not good at all. They have no running game, and their receivers are not doing what they are supposed to do. With Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Julio Jones, and Russell Gage, you'd expect more out of this receiving core, and you definitely don't expect them to lose to the Panthers, who are the worst team in the NFL. The Giants are 6-1, and I will keep saying it until it is proven right, which it will be. The Giants are not contenders. The Giants are frauds. The Giants will not win a playoff game. If they make the playoffs, they will not win a playoff game. They improved to 6-1. They beat the Jaguars 23-17. And yes, the Giants' defense was clutch, especially in the last seconds of the game. Jaguars have the opportunity for a game-winning touchdown. They hold them at the goal line. And these two, Daniel Jones played great. He played pretty good. 202 yards passing and a touchdown. He had 107 yards rushing and a touchdown. Overall, Daniel Jones played amazing. Saquon Barkley's been the best running back basically in the NFL so far this season. I just cannot say that this team is a true contender. I don't think they will be able to win a playoff game. Because the Eagles, let's say the Eagles win the division, the Cowboys will probably be in the playoffs, and then you'll have the Giants as a wild card team as well. So the Cowboys and Giants will be wild card teams. Let's see who will the Giants play if the playoffs started right now. Because would the Giants actually beat this team? I know they're 6-1 and they have one of the best records in the game, but could they actually beat whoever they were to play? So the first seed has a bye. So the first seed would be the Eagles. The Giants right now would be the 5 seed. So it would be 2 versus 7. The Giants would play Tampa. Would the Giants beat the Buccaneers? Maybe. They could possibly beat Tampa because Tampa's bad. Maybe. But they're still playing Tom Brady. They are still going to be playing Tom Brady in the first round of the playoffs. And by the end of the season, let's say this was the playoff picture at the end of the season. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers should be all set and all ready to go by then. I know I just said the Buccaneers probably can't win a playoff game. I think I just said that. But by then you'd at least expect more out of the receivers and out of Tom Brady and out of this entire Buccaneers team. I think they could beat the Giants. I don't think the Giants will win a playoff game, no matter who they play. I don't think they are legit contenders this year. They do have a good team. They have a good coach. And they have a good foundation to be good next season. But this season, I don't think they are legit. And I will keep saying that until they prove me wrong in the playoffs. The regular season doesn't matter until the playoffs. I don't care if they win. I don't care if they go 16-1. If they don't win a playoff game, I'm still right. The Giants are frauds. The Ravens finally pick up a win, 23-20 over the Browns. Lamar Jackson had another bad game, 9 for 16, 120 yards. He rushed for 59. I don't know what's going on with Lamar. He's not been performing good, especially for someone who owns him fantasy-wise. I'm expecting a lot more out of him. The Browns fall to 2-5. What does their remaining schedule look like? Because they do get Deshaun Watson back in Week 13, which is coming closer. I know Deshaun Watson's able to be in the building soon. But what will the Browns' record be once they end up playing, or once they get Lamar back? They have a bye in Week 9. Or next week they play the Bengals. They'll lose that. So they'll be 2-6 bye week. Play the Dolphins. They could possibly win that game. We'll say they lose, so they're 2-7. Buffalo, 2-8. Buccaneers, 2-9. Houston, first game with Deshaun Watson back, 3-9. Cincinnati, 3-10. Baltimore, 3-11. New Orleans, 4-11. Washington, 5-11. Pittsburgh, 6-11. So I think, by the time they get Deshaun Watson back, they'll have 3 wins, or 2 wins. They'll win with Deshaun Watson against Houston. And then they'll only end up winning 2 more games when Deshaun Watson gets back. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this Browns defense is horrible. They have Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward, but the rest of that defense is horrible. They're going to look to trade Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, which makes sense because Nick Chubb is their best running back. The Jets are 5-2. and the Broncos are the worst team in the AFC West finally, because the Raiders won. The Broncos are the worst team in their division. I mean, even without if the Raiders lost, the Broncos are still worse than the Raiders. But the Jets are 5-2. Zach Wilson has another game where he doesn't play great, and Russell Wilson didn't play in this game with an injury. Breece Hall, though, for the Jets, he's out for the season with a torn ACL. He had a nice game, four rushes for 72 yards and a touchdown. Unfortunately, he's going to be out for the rest of the season. They just traded for James Robinson from the Jaguars. But I think the Broncos scoring 9 points in this game shows that Russell Wilson is not really the major problem here with the Broncos. It is Nathaniel Hackett, because this offense is horrible. If they won the game, let's say they scored 20 points against the Jets, okay, the questions would be Russell Wilson's not the guy. Russell Wilson is the problem with the Broncos. But they lost this game. They didn't even score a single touchdown. So the clear and obvious problem with the Broncos is their head coach and the way this offense is being played. They have so much talent offensively, right? Russell Wilson, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Cortland Sutton. You'd expect this offense to be a lot better, and it is not. The Jets' defense is actually really, really good. Like, let's see if I can pull up their defensive statistics quickly, because the Jets are really good. Surprisingly, no one really expected the Jets to be one of the best, to have 5 wins and beat the Packers and the Broncos before the season started. The Jets have only allowed 314 yards per game, and when it comes to points per game, the Jets are allowing 19 points per game. So they are among one of the better defenses in the NFL. And the Broncos are bad. The Raiders finally pick up their second win, playing the Texans. Josh Jacobs is one of the best running backs this season. 143 yards and 3 touchdowns. Wow. He's playing incredible. Devontae Adams had a good game. Josh Jacobs is he's a top 5 back this season, especially for fantasy. He just dropped another 30 bomb if you have normal scoring. The Seahawks beat the Chargers. They're 4-3. The Seahawks lead the NFC West. They are first place in that division. Geno Smith is playing amazing. Geno Smith was not expected and not supposed to play at the level he's playing at. He's not supposed to be this good, but he's playing absolutely incredible. And Kenneth Walker III, their running back, since Rashad Penny got injured, is one of the best backs in the game. 23 carries, 168 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The Chargers just lost J.C. Jackson for the season with a ruptured patella tendon. That Chargers defense is horrible. They have so many stars on that defense. Bosa, Derwin James, the best safety in the game, Khalil Mack, and they had J.C. Jackson, and that defense is horrible. One of the worst in the game. Will the Seahawks win the division when it's all said and done? I don't think so. The Chargers will definitely make the playoffs, but they are not contenders. The 49ers and the Chiefs played each other. Christian McCaffrey's first game, he had 8 carries for 38 yards on the day. He obviously didn't really know the playbook much, so he couldn't play most of the game, but the Chiefs blew out the Niners 44-23. Mahomes 423 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. And Juju Smith-Schuster is playing incredible. He is showing why he is one of the better receivers in the game. I know the past few seasons, especially last year and the year before that, the past 2 seasons in Pittsburgh, a lot of off-the-field controversy surrounding Juju Smith-Schuster and social media, and his performance was not, good. But Juju, his past few games, this game, 7 receptions, 124 yards, and a touchdown. He's balling out. Marquez Valdez-Scantling has a nice game. Travis Kelce has a great game. The Chiefs are incredible. The Niners, I do expect them to win the division, even though Jimmy Garoppolo is not good. He's really not a good quarterback whatsoever. I wish they had Trey Lance, because Trey Lance, He didn't look good in the games that he played this season before he got injured, but I definitely think he would be better than Jimmy Garoppolo. Sunday Night Football was mid. We had the Steelers play the Dolphins. The Dolphins won this game. Kenny Pickett, I need to pull up his player stats this season because Kenny Pickett's not the guy. I think it's pretty easy to tell that. He's only played like 3 games in his career. On the season, he's played 3 games. But Kenny Pickett is definitely not the guy going forward for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Has thrown 2 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, been sacked 6 times. Has a quarterback rating of 41%. He is completing 68% of his passes. Yeah, I mean, the Steelers are bad. We all know that. They're probably the second worst team in the game. The Dolphins, first game back with Tua. Tua plays pretty solid. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. The Dolphins will be a playoff team. But for the Steelers, I mean, Kenny Pickett's not the guy. They better hope that they have the first or second pick so they can draft C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. Or maybe they even go crazy and get Hendon Hooker, a Heisman favorite from Tennessee. And then the Bears and Patriots played on Monday Night Football. There is a definite quarterback question for the Patriots. Mac Jones first came back from injury, only plays 6 snaps. Bailey Zappi comes in and plays the rest of the game. Zappi didn't play good. He missed a lot of wide open receivers, missed a lot of passes, and he had 2 picks. But the question is he better than Mac Jones? I know the past few games before this Monday night game, he was playing pretty solid. Mac Jones will definitely get another start. I mean, he's a first-round pick. He's a first-round quarterback. You cannot just bench him for a 7th-rounder. Unless Mac Jones plays horrible the next few games, then it is justified to put Zappi in there. The Bears, though, they win this game. Justin Fields plays amazing. 82 yards rushing, a touchdown. 179 yards passing, and a touchdown. Montgomery rushes for a touchdown. The Bears are one of the best running teams in the game. I know they don't really throw the ball a lot. Justin Fields doesn't have a lot of opportunities to throw. He threw it 21 times, probably a season high. I know earlier in the year he probably threw the ball like 9 times a game. But the Bears pick up a win. Both these teams fall to 3-4 on the season. Yeah, that's going to be it for the episode. Not a whole lot to talk about right now. It's already a 42-minute episode. Yes, that's going to do it for this episode of the franchise. We just went over the Lakers and why they are so bad so to start the season. The World Series and the Championship Series and the Major League Baseball. And the Week 7 NFL recap. We'll do another episode before Week 8 of the NFL season starts, go through, pick those games, and talk about whatever happens between now and the next episode that will come out on Friday or Saturday. So this podcast, once again, is available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.